in the Fancy Stitch series, I'm going to show you how to work a stitch that is just called the lace stitch. I don't know why it's just called the lace stitch. It could be called columns of lacy goodness, something like that. There it is, kind of a simple columned lace stitch. I'll show you how to work it in different yarns. And this video is sponsored by Lion Brand, and it is an excellent opportunity for me to use and show you the yarns in their LB collection, which a lot of people haven't heard of, I discovered. It is their super luxury brand of yarns, and it's available for sale on their website. And when, of course, I'll give you links to all of these yarns and where you can get them on the Lion Brand website and everything else in the video description field below. And when I show you these fancy stitch combo videos, I of course want to show you how to work the stitch, but I also want to show you how the stitch looks in different yarns and different gauges, and I can use these beautiful luxury yarns to show you just that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this stitch, the lace stitch. And here is the lace stitch knit up in probably the most traditional gauge that you'd see when you're lace knitting. And this is knit using the LB Collection Baby Alpaca yarn. And this is 100% baby alpaca from Peru. And it's DK weight, and it's very soft. And you see here, this is pretty normal for a yarn like this. It looks like just a really ordinary, maybe even a wool yarn like this. But after you knit with it, the yarn runs through your fingers and the alpaca blooms and you end up with this soft halo on it. It's very pretty. And it comes in 6 undyed colors. From what I understand, it's not an easy thing to dye alpaca yarn, 100% alpaca. So they just use the natural alpaca colors. So this is knit with the DK weight yarn and what size needles did I use here? Size 9 needles, which left me with really lacy looking stitch. So we have columns of double decreases and columns of knit stitches, and they're separated by these yarn overs. And of course, I'll show you how to work this. This stitch, in this gauge, it has some stretch to it. It's not a rib stitch that's going to give you a lot of stretch if you're looking at using this for different things. And the back of the stitch is still very pretty, but it does look like the wrong side of the work. And this would normally be a stitch that would curl, but because I've knit it in such a loose gauge, it's not going to curl. Okay, that's really loose gauge. We get down to, I'll do it this way. This is a little bit tighter gauge, and this you can see has a beautiful shine. Any guesses as to what this yarn might be? It is the LB Collection 100% silk. 100% silk, not a silk blend. It is sport weight silk, hand dyed, so you can see these beautiful variations in the colors of the yarn. It has a beautiful sheen and a nice weight to it. That's one of the things about silk, is that it ends up with a pretty drape to it because it's a bit heavier than an animal fiber. And if you take a look on the website, it comes in 20 really vibrant colors like this. And in this sample, it's kind of a perfect yarn for this stitch. It gives it a little bit of weight and drape. And I've knit this, let me see what needle size I used on this one, a size 6. So not nearly as big as the alpaca. We still see really distinct columns and knit stitches. This one, definitely less stretch than the alpaca because the silk yarn doesn't have as much give as alpaca. And there's the wrong side of the work. And I have 2 more to show you here. This is even tighter gauge. Like I said, I'm moving through into smaller and smaller gauges. This is cashmere yarn knit with size 7 needles. And let me find that cashmere. Oh, cashmere yarn. This is 100% cashmere from Italy. It's super soft luxury yarn. If you haven't used cashmere yarn, it is a dream to work with. If you look on the Lion Brand website, there's a beautiful palette of 16 different colors of this yarn, and you can see it gives beautiful stitch definition. And gosh, I just want to knit bed sheets out of it because it feels so nice. I want to roll myself in it and sleep. We end up with really good stitch definition, like I said, and the cashmere yarn, in this gauge, I would think that this would be curling because this is a stockinette based stitch. It is not. because cashmere yarn is really forgiving, and I applied a little steam and it's perfectly flat now. And there's the wrong side of the work. And in all of these fancy stitch combo videos, when it's possible, I give you instructions for how to work this in the round. And here it is in a finer gauge in the round, and this yarn has some good stretch to it. And this yarn happens to be Superwash Merino, which is 100% superwash merino yarn, meaning you get the luxury of wool, but it's easy care because it's superwash, DK weight, and it has 26 different colors. This is a great yarn. Okay, and this is in a tighter gauge. You can see we get beautiful stitch definition, and the instructions for this will be in the video description below. Okay, that was cool that I got to show you all those yarns. Let me show you how to work this stitch now. I have a very small sample here so I can take you through this, hopefully a couple of times. This is a pattern. You want to cast on a multiple of 4 stitches plus 1. And what that means is you take any multiple of 4 stitches, 4, 8, 12, 16, and then add 1. So if you're doing 16, you cast on 17. And that's so that you have a knit stitch on either end. And the instructions are a bit different for working in the round, but you can see that in those instructions in the video description field. So row 1 is a wrong side row, and it's just purl. So I've already done that. And row 2, we knit the first stitch, and then here's the pattern repeat. Yarn over, SK2P, which means slip 1 stitch purl-wise, knit 2 stitches together, and now we want to pass the slipped stitch over the knit 2 together we just did. Pass that over, and then yarn over and knit 1. That's the pattern repeat. So yarn over, SK2P, slip 1 stitch as if to knit, knit 2 together, and pass the slip stitch over. When you do this, make sure you're not passing the yarn over because the yarn over will start creeping up into that stitch, but you have the knit 2 together and the slip stitch here. Grab that one, pull it over like you're binding off, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, SK2P. And you always want to slip a stitch as if to purl unless the pattern tells you otherwise, and this pattern tells us otherwise. Slip as if to knit, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, SK2P, yarn over, knit 1. So that was the row, and I'm going to just quickly purl across these stitches. And if purling is new to you, I will give you a link to my purling video. Just be sure when you're working the wrong side rows that you're working the yarn overs as real stitches, because they don't really look like real stitches. I want to go over some of the finer points of working this stitch on the next row. Okay. Now if you have a lot of stitches cast on and you want to make sure that you're on track as you're working this, you will see that you have columns of knit stitches. Actually, it's easier to see in a lighter sample. You have columns of knit stitches and columns of decreases. And as long as your knit stitches and decreases are lining up with what you see, you know you're on track. And the minute that you look down at your work and you're working a knit stitch here and a double decrease here, I mean, if that happens, you know that you need to tink back a few stitches because you're off in your pattern. But when you have columns of stitches like this, it makes it really easy to see what you're doing. So start with knit 1, yarn over. Every row, every right side row is the same on this. Slip as if to knit, knit 2 together, PSSO, yarn over, knit 1. And when I did that knit 1, I can see that it's lined up with the knit 1 there and I know that I am on track. Again, everything you see in this video, including the needle sizes that I used and the different yarns and written instructions for working this stitch and working this stitch in the round, are all in the video description field. I hope you enjoy this stitch. Good luck.